Sewing of pleated salwar. In the previous session, we cut the fabric pieces for the pleated salwar. We will now sew the fabric pieces together. We will first sew the waistband with casing, join the leg pieces together, make the necessary pleats on both leg pieces, attach the waistband to the leg piece, sew the bottom round using canvas piece, and finally join the sides of the leg pieces to finish the pleated salwar. At the end of the session, you will be able to sew the fabric pieces of a pleated salwar. Let's first familiarize with the tools and materials required for sewing a pleated salwar. They are cutout fabric and canvas pieces, matching thread, sewing machine, ready-made cord, safety pin, a pair of small scissors, and measuring tape. First, let's see how to make the waistband for the pleated salwar. First, join the two pieces of the waistband at the back using a half-inch seam allowance. Starting and ending with a reverse stitch, sew a double-stitched seam as shown here. Now attach the cross pieces on both sides of the waistband as shown here. Make sure that the narrow end of the cross piece is placed along the width of the waistband. Also note that cross piece comes at the bottom of the waistband. Now open the pieces and sew a top stitch along the cross piece. Cut the extra fabric along the waistband line. Now fold the fabric over to the wrong side and from the selvage edge, measure and mark 1 inch twice to make the opening for the cord. This is the portion where we need not stitch, which means that this will be a gap. Start sewing with a 1 inch seam allowance along the width of the waistband. End sewing with a reverse stitch at the 1 inch mark made earlier. Again, starting with a reverse stitch, sew from the next 1 inch mark and end with a reverse stitch. Similarly, sew a double stitched seam to strengthen the stitches, again leaving the 1 inch gap. Now fold the seam as shown here and top stitch along the fold, sewing all the 4 sides. Now we can sew the casing. Since here the edge is the selvage edge, we need not fold half inch inside. We have completed sewing the waistband of the pleated salwar. We will now sew the leg piece of the pleated salwar. First, take one of the leg pieces and place it on top of the other with the right sides facing together. Join the pieces with a half-inch seam allowance. Sew a double-stitched seam to strengthen the stitch. Repeat the same for the other side also. Thus we have joined the leg pieces together. Now let's see how to make the pleats of the salwar. Align the waistband front center line with the center line of the leg pieces and make marks on either sides of the leg piece as shown here. Snip at the markings made. Now start pleating from an inch before the marking as shown here. Now when you reach the next marking, take one pleat to the opposite direction as shown here. Similarly, pleat the other leg piece also. Now we will attach the waistband to the leg piece. Align the center lines of the waistband and leg piece such that the right sides face each other. Sew all along the round with a half-inch seam allowance. Turn the fabric to its right side and top stitch all around. Thus we have attached the waistband to the leg piece. Now we will see how to make the bottom round using canvas pieces. Place one canvas piece on top of the wrong side of the bottom of the leg piece. Fold 1/4 inch fabric over the canvas piece as shown here and sew along the edge of the folded fabric. Fold it once again and top stitch on both the sides of the bottom line to fix the canvas onto the leg piece. Make a few stitches on top of the canvas bottom round to get a finished look. You can design it with curves or straight lines according to your wish. Repeat the same for the other bottom round also. Thus we have completed making the bottom round for both the leg pieces. Next we will sew the sides of the leg pieces. Sew a double stitch seam with a 1-inch seam allowance to join the sides of the leg pieces as shown here. Finally, we will insert a cord into the casing using a safety pin. Thus we have completed sewing a pleated salwar. It is very important to verify the various aspects of quality of the finished product. So let's do a quality check to ensure that our product is of good quality. We will first verify if all the final measurements matches with the measurements taken. Check if the bottom round has clean stitches. Check if the seams are even and parallel and are of the right measurement throughout. Ensure that the bottom hem and the side seam joining is neat. Finally, see if the product has been ironed properly. In this session, we have learned how to sew the fabric pieces for a pleated salwar. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key points involved in sewing a pleated salwar. Step 1. Sew the waistband with casing. Step 2. Join the leg pieces together. Step 3. Make the necessary pleats on both leg pieces. Step 4. Attach the waistband to the leg piece. Step 5. Sew the bottom round using canvas piece. Step 6. Join the sides of the leg pieces. Step 7. Check the quality of the finished product. With that, we've come to the end of the session.